who would you recommend for me to reach out and bring to this channel?
Cátia from Jogos, Mesa.
Cátia Santos is a passionate board gamer, sharing this passion through her YouTube channel called Jogos, Mesa. I was surprised to learn she also has a PhD in physics and works in data science. Is there a connection between all these topics? What is the Geek Approach in life? What are the best tips for introducing board games to your family and kids? Is playing board games a hobby for boys or girls, or is it for everyone? Meet Cátia Santos. Cátia, welcome to the show. Thank you for accepting this invitation and for being willing to go through the challenge. So we are already now playing Azul. It's my turn. I'll take care of that. But before, I would like to
push the turns on your side to put the pressure on you.
The timer is already on my side. Oh, I just realized now your score here in Azul, so I'm facing a pro.
It's fine. Don't worry. It's just because I played a lot doesn't mean that I'm very good. I usually play games. People who watch my lives, I lose a lot more than I win, so don't be scared.
We'll see in the end. Okay. So Cátia, you could be found on social media via your board game channel, your account in Instagram. But beyond that, also from a professional perspective, you are a PhD in physics and you work in data science. So there's a cocktail here of interesting topics for us to explore today. So, but to start, since this is a board games channel, what is your connection with board games?
So when we had the friends over that were starting to dibble in board games. We had a lot of sessions of just playing Catan on weekend afternoons. And we felt that it was a very good excuse to put people around the table without being the Portuguese way of just eating. It was a much more interesting way of just let's have a conversation while we're also doing this interesting thing, which is playing the games. So it started with Catan. It started with a couple of friends that also were dibbling in liking games. And then I got into a deeper end than they did, like trying to learn a bit about the designers and learning about Board Game Geek and all the details that you have about, what is this designer doing? Do I like their work? Do I like other games that they're doing? And I started going into more of encyclopedic kind of approach. Like I wanted to know what Knizia was doing. I wanted to know what Bruno Catala was doing. I wanted to know what all these designers that I had games of that I liked already, I wanted to know what they were doing. So I ended up it became a bit of a collecting first. But when I started my channel, I only had like 12 games, so I didn't have a ton of them. But then the channel became a good excuse to buy a lot more games. And the amount of times that I've bought a game because I was like, I can use this for the channel. It's great. Of course, it's a good purchase, right? Because I can use it for the channel.
And then I buy 1,000.
Yeah, not 1,000 yet.
Heard that?
Not 1,000 yet, but yeah. And then when COVID hit, we didn't have the friends over, so it was also a way of having me and my husband play 2-player games, which was also something that I looked for a lot, which is what games are good to play with just two players. Not a lot of games have that. Not a lot of games, even though they say 2 to 4. Not a lot of games play 2 to 4 properly. And I was like, okay, I want to see what I can do with this.
Okay. So the way you describe your experience with board games is like you started small and then you got interested and then you wanted to know more. All the Reiner Knizia, all the whatever. And it's like, the way it sounds is like very, and don't take me wrong, it's a very geekish approach, right? You want to know more and more
about
that specific topic, right?
I'm very proud to be.
We're talking a geek to another geek, so no one is getting offended here, right?
No, not at all.
But is that your attitude in life for every topic you like, or it was
for a lot of things
for board games?
For a lot of things, I do that for TV shows. I do that for like books. I remember when I was a kid, I was caught in the, how do you call it, the Harry Potter wave. Let's say that. Because Harry Potter was not finished when I was young. I was reading it as it was coming out. So it was, I would go back and read more books and go back. While I was waiting for book number 4, I remember going back and reading 1, 2, 3 again and trying to find oh, this is foreshadowing for that could be that. I remember when you have the locket for the Harry Potter fans out there, when you have the locket that says RAB, I remember figuring out who that person was going to be, or like trying to, okay, maybe this is this person, and being super excited because I'd figured out the rabbit hole. And I do that for TV shows. Like I love to know the little details of what's going on. So yeah, being geeky is kind of my thing, but I'm very proud of that. That's not a diss to me at all. And now you're focusing on the game. Come on.
Yeah, because my hands are very cold today, so my keyboard's not working that fast. So that's why I'm taking too much today. I need to.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry. We have time.
Yep. So I was going to ask you. So you described Catan as an experience, as an initial gateway, but was it your first board game in your collection? Was it Catan?
I didn't own Catan at the time because Catan was a game that my friends had. I don't remember what was I know what my first game was. It's a very bad game. I think that is an experiment that people do without realizing that what they're doing, which is buying a game because, oh, this looks cool, and you go to Fnac or you go to a shop like nowadays Continent also has games, but you go to Fnac and you think, oh, I like this IP, and I liked World of Warcraft at the time. I was playing World of Warcraft with my at time boyfriend, now husband, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna buy this for his birthday. I'm gonna buy this board game about World of Warcraft, and it's gonna be amazing. We're gonna play this together.
The big one?
It wasn't the big one. It was the World of Warcraft adventure game. Game. It's the adventure game. Yeah. It wasn't a great experience because the game is not great. And so it was.
It's there.
Oh, it's there. Yeah, but that's the bigger one, right?
No, above the bigger one is the smaller one.
The smaller one. It doesn't play well with two players, which was one of the first things that I learned. Is like this game's not all games work well with two players. That one clearly doesn't work well with two players. You have a huge map that is too open. You almost never run into each other. It felt like a big disappointment to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, maybe this is not as fun. And then we started going for Catan. And then I was very lucky. I went to Comic-Con 2014, the first Comic-Con in Portugal. And I met someone from Diver there, but not a sponsored comment, but they have a shop there. They're a great shop in Portugal called Diver Centro. And we found someone there that actually could advise us. And we also had the Board Gamers of Porto there. They were basically running a booth, and they had games that they had brought. And we were like, okay, we want to play games just the two of us. What do you guys suggest? I remember we played Camisado. Camisado was the one that marked me on that day. And then we came home and we bought Seven Wonders Duel, which is an amazing 2-player game. I highly, 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 highly recommend it. And then we bought Jaipur as well. And it was amazing. It was really nice to have like, okay, these are tailored 2-player games that are, oh, you're going to suffer now a little bit.
Yeah, thank you.
So many negative points.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
Although it's the first round, so I don't think that will impact that much. I'll just
it's
go
still a bunch of negative points.
It is. I want to go further than 0 probably.
But finding out these games that played well with 2 players, that were easy, that were fast, it was a really great experience. And then every year after that, we went to Comic-Con. All the years that it was in Porto, we went there for Comic-Con, and they were always there. They were always there for us to talk about and to have people to learn about games. So yeah, that was basically where I started to dip my toes a little bit more. I remember on second year, Michael, the guy from Diveri, was like, oh, you guys are starting to talk like a bit more senior. Oh, I have this game here that it's not for the faint of heart. It's just for people who are willing to jump off the deep end. Let's take it. It was Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. And he was right. It was not a game that is easily to play. It is, now that I play solo, now I can enjoy the game very much. But when you want to play with more people, it's not it's not a good experience with more people. But you have to learn this. You have to learn how many people you're going to be playing with. Does this game fit with the audience you're trying to reach? And it's not always obvious which games you should have on a table with it. I remember trying to play that with my in-laws. My mother-in-law especially likes games very much, and she likes to dibble. She likes Carcassonne very much.
Wow. Mother-in-law that likes to play games?
Yeah, it's really nice.
Wow,
I play with her just the two of us a lot of times now. It's really amazing. I really like doing that with her. I'm very blessed in that sense because she's amazing.
Yeah,
She's amazing.
sounds like it.
But yeah, like you have to learn what games make sense for the different groups. And that was
Yes.
actually one of the things that I wanted to share in my channel is one, what is made in Portugal, and then what is available in our market, but also teach games like, okay, this is how the game works. And now you can figure out if it works well for your group or not. You can see a video of, I can do this, and this in the game. This is how that works. And you can sort of have a sense of, will it work for my group or not?
Makes sense. And getting back to the geek part that we're discussing. So
Yeah.
what is your approach to playing board games? So in my view, Katya, there are two kinds of people. The ones that like to play one game and then they change to another. And people that like to, oh, let's try this game. Oh, I like it. Let's play again to become more expert. And again, in order to explore and deep dive on the game. I see myself as the first type of people. I like the experience of the game. So I like to try this one. Cool, I liked it, or I disliked. And then let's see another one. Let's see another one. And see the most games possible out there. And what about you? I guess you would be the second type. I may be wrong.
No, I am going more in that direction on my personal taste of actually just wanting to explore a game and going and seeing what I can do with the game. But because of the channel, sometimes I'm not allowed to do that. Sometimes I have to go. Now I have to teach. I have this game on my pipeline to teach because I have things that I want to be sharing. So I have to keep learning new games. I have to keep practicing new games because I also do solo playthroughs now. I actually have to practice the game a little bit that I'm going to be sharing and showing. So I do at least, well, normally when my voice is not cracking, which I'd skipped last week because my voice was not there. But when I'm doing that normally, I do at least 2 of those per month. So I have to learn 2 new games. And they're usually, sorry, not always, but usually they're new releases. They're things that are coming out now. So I have to go after that and chase that. So it's, but I am also, something that I learned new from last year was, not from last 2 years, I think, that if I want to really explore a game, I have to play solo. Before I was not a solo player. I was very much, I love the experience with the people. I love to be playing and chatting with the people around the table. But very often I would find myself frustrated because I only have my husband at home to play with me, and I'm like, oh, can we play this game? And he's like, no, I don't want to play that. I don't want to play at all. I want to play another game. Then I'm like, okay, either I don't play or I play something that you want to play. So, okay, let me just not ask you. If I really want to play this game, I'm going to either you say yes and let's play together, great. Or if not, then I'm going to play solo and I can just enjoy the game solo. And I've been playing a bit of campaign games lately, which is something that is very new to me. But it's been very fun, and I sit with the same game. I'm the one that I'm doing now that I'm loving, and everyone on my channel is fed up of me talking about the game, especially my co-host of the podcast, which is Lord of the Rings: Journeys in Middle Earth. I got it for my birthday, and I love it. It is delicious, is the word for it. It's amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. If I could recommend it to every people, I would. If you like Lord of the Rings, it's a very good experience. It's an app-driven game. Huh?
I haven't tried.
You haven't tried it? A lot of people shy away from it because it's app-driven, so you have to play with the app. Okay. The app is controlling the game for you.
Yep.
And I have friends going, oh, but in 20 years, I want to play the game again. The app will not be there. You'll not be playing the game in 20 years. That's not true. You're just lying.
You think so? Because I also think about that. If this game is app-driven, one day this app will disappear.
Maybe it will.
There is some fan-made app that will replace that. That's my hope. That's my hope. Because probably I only played Lord of the Rings in 10 years. So that's right.
There will be another Lord of the Rings game in 10 years. Because also every year you have literal hundreds of games coming out. And there will be another thing. There will be another story. There will be another game. You don't need to connect with that game in particular. If you want to, that's great. You can do that. Or you can try to do that. But you don't have to. That's the point. You don't have to. I hope I'm going to be finishing. I think that the campaign I'm doing is 25 chapters. I'm on chapter 14. It's always very fun when the app says, if you lose this chapter, the campaign is over. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to lose. And it's very stressful. But I'm playing with 2 characters, and I feel that I'm going to be playing with another couple of characters. And I feel like I'm going to get, again, my money's worth out of it because
and you're playing solo,
playing it
correctly.
enough. I'm playing it solo.
Yeah, that's fine.
You can
That's
play
fine.
with more people. I played a couple of chapters with my husband. He also likes Lord of the Rings. He also likes games, but he doesn't like it as much as I do, and I end up just enjoying it more and doing it more solo.
Okay.
And I have so many hours on that game, and this year I really went a bit crazy on the campaign games because I have a few on the pipeline to do as well. I have Seventh Citadel. I have Lens of Galzir, which I started, and it's delightful. I love it so much. Lens of
Okay.
Galzir is a cozy, open world kind of. You just go and do something. There's no real storyline. I think the game will never end, and that is so delicious. And I didn't think that I would like it, but I'm enjoying it very, very much.
Okay.
So I like the thing with these games is that they are not brain burny. They are definitely not brain burny. You can just sit down and enjoy the story, enjoy the puzzle. You can tweak them. I have Destinies as well, which is another one. It was my first app-driven campaign game. You can tweak it a little bit. Like Destinies, you can have the how they call it, the challenger mode and the explorer mode. In challenger mode, you're gonna lose the game 10 times before you actually finish it once. And I don't like that. I don't like to feel like cramped, like I'm just being crushed by the game for no good reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the option of making it easier, making it just a more relaxing experience. Let me just go through the story and see where this takes me. Then you can also play the normal, quote unquote, normal games if you want to do that, of having just an experience of being crushed all the time. That also happens. But if I want a cozy experience, then these kinds of games give me that.
Okay. So I've misclicked a few tiles and I did some mistakes. So I'm taking a beating here. And you also play very fast, super fast. So yeah, and I see you on camera. I don't see you stop and play. So I'm not sure how you're doing this. Cátia, it seems like there's another person on your side doing the game, and you're just focused on the conversation.
There's a tiny person here behind the screen.
Doing both things. That's how it looks, because we don't see your hands. We just see you speaking. So I was not aware that people were now planning to cheat to come to this show.
I'm gonna start putting my hands up while I play. So this is just magic.
Yeah. So if we see you play while your hands are on the air, then you were caught. You were caught. Okay. So many names that you throw into the conversation of game names. But also, if I think there was an interesting quote there that you mentioned, which is you made it happen playing campaign games solo, because many people want to try campaign games, but it's tough to sustain a play group throughout a campaign because everyone has their lives and they're not available. So if you're really into campaign games,
because life happens,
because life mainly, right? Life happens. But you can still buy and play it yourself. Like you just play with all the characters and you are the DM at the same time, changing the mindset and try to screw yourself as a player, right? Unless the app is driven you.
No, there's no DM here, right? That's exactly, the app is driving that. None of these games I'm doing the DM work. I actually have been learning a bit about solo RPGs where you actually have a system that simulates a game master. I'm not doing that because that's a bit too much for me at this point yet. I'm not there yet. But the app usually is doing that. For Seventh Citadel, which is the one I have on my pipeline, you don't even have an app, but you have a storybook. And the storybook tells you, well, now you put this tile, and now you go on this location, and now you put this monster. So you have something that is doing that control. I think control is a good word for this, for you.
Okay, you're triggering the end game. So let's see how much of a beating I'll take. And so basically, after all these years and all the names, if you have to pick your favorite board game, is it something that you can do easily?
I can do my top 3, I think. My top 3 pretty easily. My top 1, I don't know which one would be, but my top 3 is pretty easy.
Top 3 is okay.
Well, in no particular order, I would be saying that definitely Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth is definitely in there. It's one that I'm always excited to bring to the table when I have a chance. So there's that. I also have Castles of Burgundy is one of those games that I'm always happy to bring to the table. Solo, mostly, because I don't have now that I've changed location, now that I'm in another place, I sometimes have a group to play that with, but for the longest time I didn't. I would have to play just alone. And it's such a nice, delicious puzzle that you finish. I remember finishing it the first time, being completely crushed by the game and feeling like, I can do this better. I'm going to do this again. And just going over I think I can do this better, and chasing that. And then my third one would be Awkward Guests, which is a game that I never hear people talking about.
Yeah.
Awkward Guests is a deduction game where you have to figure out. It's basically what Cluedo should be. That absolutely is what Cluedo should be, because you have a case, you have suspects, you have a manner that you have. Where the suspects tell you where they were at the time of the crime. You have the servant saying, "Oh, person A crossed from room A to room B." You have police reports. You have a bunch of cards that control the case. So you're going to be getting cards. The game has 200 and something cards. Each case you're going to be playing with 70 cards, and you have all the information in those cards. The system is very, very, very smart. Very, very smart system. And that's basically that. Like, you have something that happened. You have a sheet that you're going to be writing stuff on, and you have to figure out who did it, why, and with what murder weapon. And it's delicious. And because you have an app, you also can do it without the app. You have cases on the rule book. Yeah. But because you play with the app, if you make a wrong guess, especially solo, the wrong guess doesn't end the game, because it's not like, oh, I'm going to check the solution to see if I'm right. Now I'm wrong. I can't progress because I now know the answer. If you put it in the app will just say, nope, you're wrong. Try again. And you can keep playing.
Okay. Very different games, those three. So it shows you how different you are in terms of taste. Okay, so as expected, I took a beating.
All of them play solo. All of them play solo, which is a very important thing for me
solo,
today.
of course, that's okay, because you can figure it out yourself.
Well, Awkward Guess, you're playing with the app. The app is controlling your time with how many cards you can use.
So you can play yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my hands are now hotter and warmer. Cátia, do you accept a rematch while we continue our conversation?
Whoops. Let's go.
So
let's go.
Let's propose that rematch. So I'm giving you rank in Azul.
Thank you for that. It does not that it matters. It really doesn't.
Should have an invite on your side. If all went well.
It's opening up.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. I'm here.
Okay, and I'm clicking start. There you go. Cool. So YouTube, Cátia.
Yes.
So what is Jogos à Mesa, and what drove you to create a YouTube channel some years ago?
Yeah, so I created the channel in 2021. We were in the middle of COVID, basically. COVID was the biggest thing at the time. And basically I was pregnant with my second kid, and my husband was like, "Oh, you like games so much. Why don't you just talk?" Because I didn't have people to talk to about games, which is the main thing. Is like, I wanted to find people. I wanted to find my tribe. I wanted to find people who would also be excited to know that designer or editor or whatever publishing company was launching a new game. And I wanted to find the people that also resonated with that. I was very naive in the sense that I didn't know about other content creators in Portugal. I was so excited. Oh, maybe I'm going to be the first one that is doing that. And there's so many people already doing stuff. I got to meet a lot of them when I went to my first convention, and it was amazing to find a world where people were already doing stuff. You already had people doing unboxings. You already had people doing tutorials. You already had people talking about games. But then I was like, okay, maybe I can find my place here, and I can find something that I can do to contribute to this. And my contribution was, well, what if the layman person, the person that never heard of any games other than Monopoly, well, how do they go to Fnac like I went and find the game that they want to play? How do they find the games that they want to play? So that's what I did. I decided, okay, I'm going to focus on Portuguese games, whatever that means. Can be designers, can be publishers.
Okay.
When I started, it was mostly publishers that were doing things in Portuguese. My very first games were Rocio and Garum. Yeah, Rocio and Garum, both by Pythagoras, both by Portuguese designers, both in Portuguese. Especially Rocio. I think Rocio was the very first one, because like, not only is it a Portuguese game, it's a Portuguese game with a theme that is Portuguese. Like, you're literally building the
Rocio Square,
the sidewalk, the square with Portuguese calçada. I don't know what to say that in English. you are literally building that while you are playing. I was like, how delicious is that? And I found that because of my channel. I found that game because I was looking for things that were specifically Portuguese. And I found Café as well. Café is also another Portuguese designed game. And then it just opened up, and I found Devir Portugal, I found Mebo games, I found Pythagoras, as I said. I found so many things that were being done in Portugal that I didn't know about. And I really wanted to focus on tutorials. I remember doing one review to test the waters. It didn't work very well. I didn't feel that my opinion was the most important thing I could be sharing. I felt that I should be sharing things like an unbiased how to play, and then you, as the person looking at that, you can figure out if it works for you or not. Me liking the game or not, I didn't feel was the most important thing for you to hear about, because your taste can be completely different from mine. So what does it matter if I'm saying that I don't like that game? Yeah, it doesn't really matter. So that's why I I'm going to just focus on tutorials. And I did that for a long time. I was doing YouTube tutorials, like really, I felt like that they were quite polished in terms of work. Like I had 4 cameras set up. I was doing a lot of editing. But then because I was, as I said, I was a mother to a young baby, a second baby at the time, the time to actually dedicate to editing a video like that became a lot. And over time, I decided to progress more into the live streaming side of things. Because with live streaming, it's not as polished, it's not as perfectly edited, and it's not as easy to follow as the other content was.
Okay.
But I can do a lot more with a lot less. I can easily do 4, 5, 6 videos per month without having the literally 10-hour overhead of editing at least per video editing. So now I actually was very fortunate because I wanted to dabble into the live streaming side of things, but doing it alone was also very hard. I was very lucky that I found João Jota, another content creator that does Met na Mesa, which is his channel.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, you want to do something? I want to do something. Let's partner up and do things together. So now we do, and we didn't want to keep things very pressure. We didn't want to put a lot of pressure. We just said, okay, so you do one and I'll do one a month. So we had every 2 weeks we had something to do. He was doing his, I was doing mine. And then we just kept things going. We wanted to find conversation. We wanted to have people to have conversations about board games because that was the whole point, right? What we want to do is talk about games. What we want to do is have people to like games. And we didn't want to commit to the famous people in the industry because, well, a lot of people have talked to the famous people in the industry. So having people that are more unknown and have more of a different contribution to give, it was very interesting to me. I tend to have a subject in mind when I invite people. I've invited people from board game clubs around the country to have like a round table. I've had people, I don't remember more examples now, but I have I had Patricia that was here with you as well. We wanted to talk about the parallel between the digital gaming and the analog gaming because she's doing board games and video games. So we want to have like a driving line to our conversations, and it's very fun. We ended up doing also what we called ABC of gaming, where every week people choose a game, their favorite game with a letter, and we like to have off script. How do you say?
Conversations.
Relaxed conversations. We don't want to have a structure like there's a few questions that we tend to do a lot of times, like what was your worst experience with the game? Is there something that you really didn't like about a game? Like we have things that we sometimes ask, but if the conversation is going in one direction, we just go after that direction and just go after that. And we've talked about PNP, we've talked about designing for solo games, we've talked about so many things that every time it's a different person, it's a different personality, a different conversation. And it's allowed me to be more comfortable in the live streaming setting. And now I then also move to, but I also want to talk about the games themselves. So, okay, let me capitalize on the solo playing thing and just do solo playthroughs. And it's something that not a lot of people do. As a solo player, when I started to do solo plays, it was so frustrating because I had to learn a whole new game. A lot of times the game is very different solo when you're doing the solo play.
Mm-hmm.
There's another rule book. There's another set of rules. And I was like, okay, why don't I just teach the game, but also teach people the two sides, like the normal version, and then let's say what changes for for solo play, and then just do a playthrough and let people see how the game plays, and let me be systematically punched down by the game, which happens all the time. I always say that I can teach you the game. I don't teach you how to play the game well. I can teach you the rules. Playing well is your responsibility.
Except if it's Azul, because
Azul doesn't play solo.
You are a pro. You are a pro.
You have to block me. You are leaving the pieces I want for me.
I know. Yeah, it's too much for a single session to be able to think on our conversation, think on my play, and think to do anti-gang.
But you're winning.
It's too much. At least
you're
for
winning.
me.
So far you're winning.
What's next for your channel? What's next? So you've done the solo, you've done the live streams, the free conversations that can go anywhere. What's next?
I don't know, actually. What I would like to have is have a group that would be willing to play with me, let's say once a month or something, and have multiplayer playthroughs as well. I really would like to do that. I don't think life will allow me to do that easily because kids, because constraints of logistics and all of that. So I think that for now, it will probably stay very much where it is, at least for this year. I wanted to do more partnerships. I'm doing the partnership with João Jota that I mentioned. I had Patricia with me. I miss Patricia very much. We were doing Thursday lunch hour conversations, which were supposed to be shorter conversations. Were always an hour at least. But it was just always the two of us sharing opinions. And if she is able to come back at some point, I would love to have her back to do that with me. Because on that one, we didn't have a guest. It was just the two of us sharing our opinions on things. And that was a very fun experience to do. But if I can have that back, I would love to. What I would love to have as well is having people to do multiplayer sessions. But I don't have a plan on that yet. I have someone in mind that I'd like to do that with. I haven't approached them yet. And I don't know if they will say yes. And I don't know how the logistics of doing that will be, because life with family and kids and jobs and stuff. None of this is paid for. None of this is my full-time job. It's just, do I find time in my life to fit this in? And you come to a point where it becomes too much pressure. It becomes too much work. And if it's not fun anymore, then what are you doing? If it's not enjoyable anymore, why are you doing it?
Yeah. We all understand
that. It has
to
be enjoyable for me.
Okay. And just because we're talking about your channel, so if anyone is interested in seeing it or subscribing, it's in the comment section, so you'll be able to find your way through Cátia and Jogos à Mesa.
If you want to watch the live streams, they're usually on Wednesdays at 10 p.m.
Through Twitch or
Twitch.
So there's the link as well for Twitch. You've been doing this for how long, Cátia?
Well, I started in March of 2021, so it's going to be 4 years in a little bit.
Years. Okay. If someone listening is willing or planning to start their own board game YouTube channel, regardless which country, what advice would you give to that person today?
Experiment and don't be afraid to learn. I think that one thing that helped me keep going was having a mission, like defining what I wanted to do. It's not easy to find something that no one else is doing, but because I was focusing on, I want to do a Portuguese game. So find something that I know I'm going to be focusing on that. So if you have that, that's great. And then be willing to just learn and incrementally upgrade your stuff. So you don't need the fancy mic to start. I started with a lapel mic with it was 15 euros, I think. So I remember I bought a little ring light that was a very silly purchase but I didn't know what I was doing. So I was just, okay, I'm going to experiment and see what works. And then I bought a soft box light later on, and you build as you go, and you change your setup. Learn about editing tools. If you're not doing live streaming, learn about editing tools. If you're doing live streaming, learn about OBS. And there's so much content, so many YouTube videos. But focus on doing something you like to be doing, like the content that you're doing that is something you like. If you're focusing on likes and views and subscribes, you're going to be frustrated and end up not doing it anymore, because it's not going to be what it doesn't. It will probably never pay your bills. Probably, I don't know. Maybe you're lucky, but probably will never pay your bills.
If you look into my setting and lights, I guess you find your answer. And
Yeah,
not fancy
exactly.
microphone. Not fancy yet. It's not fancy yet.
Yet.
Yeah.
I quite like mine. It goes out. I can put it out. It's very fancy.
It gives a warm feeling. Like it's like fiery. There's a fire inside, warming up the place there. Okay, thanks for
That's
all
nice.
the advices. Looking up to the future, is there any upcoming board game that you are excited?
Oh, board game that I'm excited. Well, I have a Kickstarter coming up that I'm very excited to receive, but it's a second printing, so I don't know if it counts. It's new for me, so if it's new for me, it counts. Which is Agemonia. I think it's how you say that. Agemonia.
No,
It's
I don't
another
know
one
what
of
it is.
those campaign-driven games that I backed on Kickstarter and I'm excited to receive. I'm very excited for a friend of mine that is launching a game very soon, which is Cathood. I've played the prototype in LydiaCon
Fabio, right?
2 years ago. Fabio, yeah. The game looks so cute, and I'm very excited to try it. I want to try, but I think that's already out as well. But again, it's new for me, so I don't have it yet, which is Seven Wonders Duel Middle-earth, the Lord of the Rings version. I'm very excited to see what is coming
Everyone
from
says
there.
good things about it.
Let's see. I'm usually not a fan of derivative games, but let's see. I know that this is a first world problem, and I don't have to buy the game. I don't need to be nagging people about that. But I was not very excited about the Wingspan spin-off, the Finspan, because it's the third one in rapid succession, and it's
Now
we
you
get
can
it.
expect anything, right? The cat span, the dog span.
Exactly. The cat span was whisker span because they had the whiskers of the cats. I saw a meme about that.
Feline span or something. Feline span.
Yeah,
which
it will
would
be something
include
in it.
lions and tigers.
And I know I get the argument that it's a different game. I get the argument that it's going to be a completely different thing. But if it's a completely different thing, make it a completely different thing. I get that publishing companies have to make money, and that's a surefire way of making money. They will be making money from that game. I get that. But it feels lazy. It feels like you are not trying to give us a new thing. Like, convince me that the new thing is amazing. Like, why do I just go after the hype that's already there with Wingspan?
So I haven't seen, so I cannot give you my opinion on that.
Have you played Wormspan? Have you seen the Wormspan version?
No, not even Wormspan. Only Wingspan. I only know Wingspan, and it's a good. I like it.
I like Wingspan. I know that a lot of the heavier like the quote unquote proper gamers, whatever that means, love Wormspan more than Wingspan because there's a few things that it does differently. I get that.
Yeah. But definitely I would put on top of my priorities a cat span because I'm a cat lover.
Catspan.
Cat span would go jump in front of Wormspan and Finspan for
what
sure.
Would be the eggs? What would be the equivalent of the eggs? Because in all of these you have eggs. What would be the equivalent of the eggs for the cats?
Would be fur balls. I don't know.
Fur balls. I was going to say that.
Fur balls or something cat related.
For sure.
Yeah. If you had the chance to play board games with someone in the board game industry or someone in the world, who would that person be? Yeah,
that's tough. Let me think for a second.
No, because I'll tag that person when I do the reels.
Oh, sure.
I'll
Make that happen. Make that happen.
And probably that will help. So think wisely.
I think I like the character of Bruno Cathala. I think he's a character in the right word, and he has a lot of great games that I quite like. So I would love to just sit across from him and play some of his games with him.
Which one would you say first?
Let me not say anything stupid. Well, Seven Wonders Duel would be the first one, but he's not the only designer for that. Bruno Cathal. Let me look at his list and see if I don't say anything stupid. Oh, Mr. Jack will also be a good one. I like deduction style games, so Mr. Jack would definitely be a good one. But again, he's not the only designer of that. Maybe King Domino. King Domino would be a good one to play with him.
King Domino. Okay.
And you left me a lot of negative points. Damn you.
Yeah, it happened both ways. So since you opened the door and say you need to block me, I was trying to be polite and don't do it
Yeah,
again.
you should. You should.
Yeah, if I did something, was pure luck. Pure luck.
You did. It was not pure luck. But let's pretend it was.
How do you think board game industry has changed in the past few years?
Oh, it's changed quite a bit. In Portugal in particular, it has changed quite a bit. You can see the... Oh, that was a big, massive defeat for me now. That was good for you. Nice.
Wow.
You just
So
stole the points that you just gave me last time. Shame on you.
So yeah, it's a tie now. So this deserves a third round, right?
Let's go.
Let's go.
I was going to say that you see, for example, one, you see more publishing companies popping up. We have Salto de Caixa that popped up recently, and then you have things like a massive change in production level for some of the companies that we do have, like Pitágoras. The last few games that they have produced are on a different level. You have also, what's the name of it? I don't want to say Pile Up Games, another publishing company that popped up, specializing in heavier games. So to have a company in Portugal that is pushing out games that are focused on heavier games, that are not for the mass market, that are not for the casual gamer, that says a lot. Mm-hmm. And also, I've seen during the last year for the Vir, for example, for the Vir Portugal, that they are pumping out expansions in Portuguese, which is a very rare thing. So to have a company that is betting on the expansions as well, that's a very good sign that things are healthy, that things are moving along at a good pace.
I was surprised as well because I bought Arnak in Portuguese version, and then I saw the expansions and I thought, oh, this will never be printed in Portuguese as well. So let me buy the English one. And then the Vir launch in Portuguese.
Yeah.
And then with the second expansion, I thought, maybe I'll wait.
It's coming.
What happened?
It's coming.
But now I have the problem with I have the base game in Portuguese, expansion in English. I'm not sure what to do with
you sell the expansion. You sell it, you donate it, you do whatever you want, and you get the Portuguese one.
And it doesn't affect much. So yeah, but yeah, I thought about that exactly. Expansions now being printed. Wow, it's not only the 10 Catan expansions; it's always also for other games.
Yeah. Exactly. And even for Catan, as you're saying, even for the mass market versions, you have brand new versions for Catan because they have an anniversary now. You have a redressing of Carcassonne, which is another big, gigantic classic game at this point. So you are not just having... I feel that what we have is a care in the delivery of the games to the people. Like, they're not just being pumped out willy-nilly. They have care on what's being delivered. And I really like seeing that. I really like seeing that they are taking care of what is being given to the people. And I really like that.
We have so many topics that I would still approach you with. Cátia. You have time? Okay, good. Because I've seen your focus in the content that you share. You also make some mentions to family, board games and family. So that's a topic that is dear to me because I also enter into board games thinking of, hey, this is a family thing. This is a family fun activity, I think. So family and board games is something that I always try to squeeze together when possible. So I'm also here today on learning mode to understand from you tips where I could glue both things together in a more smooth way. How do board games bring your family together? Do you have a strategy that you'd like to share? Because you have young kids, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you have small kids? Do you have young kids or older ones? Because maybe it will be different the way that we talk about this depending on the age range that we're in. For my case in particular, my kids have been playing games since they were 2 years old. Kind of the same way that I was talking about before with the 2-player games, that not all games work for 2 players. The same thing is true for, kids games. Sometimes the age range is not correct and you have to fine-tune things. You have to adapt things. But I found that there's actually a lot of good games that work really well for kids starting literally at 2 years old. The Haba games line, there's a publishing called Haba. They do a lot of great things for kids starting at 2 years old. And what you have to have in mind, especially with very young kids, as I was saying, like 2 years old, the game is not the end game. It's the experience of being together. They started with My First Orchard, which is a lovely little game with huge chunky wooden pieces of fruits, and they have to. It's a cooperative game where they have to defeat the crow and not let the crow steal the fruits. And then the biggest steps for them were, one, learning to set up the game. They were figuring out where to put the pieces. They were learning the colors. They were learning the names of the fruits. Again, 2 years old, okay? So they were very small. And when the oldest one, they have 2 years of age gap. When the oldest one was 4, he was starting to teach the 2-year-old how to play the game and giving them the autonomy and the ownership of, I'm a big boy, I can teach the game to my brother, was an amazing thing to see, an amazing thing to experience. That it still happens today when we're playing with my in-laws, with their grandparents. They love to teach the game to them, to just set up the game and like, I want to do it myself. And the one that is a bigger hit now is Stone Age Junior. For
Right.
the age they are in, they have 6 and 4 at this point. They love to set up the game. They love to put things in their places. They love to teach things. So it's giving them the opportunity to be autonomous and to be the owners of something that maybe they wouldn't be another way. And
That's
if
interesting.
they
That's
mess up on
interesting.
something, that's fine. You can teach them. You can help them along.
Yeah.
And we started with co-op games. There's a reason co-op games are the first games that the kids have available, and that's because they can learn the frustration of losing together. There's no one losing alone. If you lose, you're all losing together, and you're learning things that are waiting your turn and learning the rules and learning to lose and learning to win, which is also very important. So they're learning things that are not just the game itself. They're learning other things that are social behaviors. And that's something that is very, very important to me. And I'm very proud of seeing them do that. I have a mantra that I use with my kids that I hear my kids now using that makes me super proud, which is, it doesn't matter if you're winning or losing. It matters that you have fun. And the youngest one still has problems with this. And the oldest one is the one now giving the mantra back to him, like, oh, it doesn't matter if we win or lose. It matters if we have fun. And they are repeating the things that they hear me say. And I'm
that
super
makes you proud.
Yeah.
In fact,
I can tell.
one of the lessons that I was trying to also bring with board games was learning how to lose. Because in the beginning, I had some problems with that, emotional problems, because they lost and they felt very bad, they cried, etc. How do you handle losing and winning? Because also learn how to win is important, right? You don't shame other people when you win, right? And
because
sometimes
they are so small. Yeah.
So how do you
Because they're
handle
so
that?
small, you model behavior. When you're doing co-ops, the ones I was saying, oh, we lost. Okay, want to try again and just go for the learning of let's do this again. I think the next time we can do better, and not. They are literally model the adult's behavior. Like with the mantra, that's what's happening. Whatever they see me doing, that's what they will be doing.
They repeat.
And then if oh, we lost, and you make it fun. Oh, that damn crow ate our fruits. And then you're not too upset. You're just talking about it. And if you're winning, it's the same. And then when you transition to competitive games, it becomes more important, the modeling part of the behavior. Like if an adult is doing that, haha, you lost, ha ha ha, then they will learn to do that. So you cannot be doing that yourself.
Okay.
You have to be modeling whatever behavior you expect them to have.
Okay,
So
just to make clear, I don't do that.
Just them.
So they are not modeling me, just to make it clear. In fact, my family also has a mantra that I've heard since I was a child, which is you can see the people's education in two places: at table eating and at table playing games. You can see people's education, their behaviors,
their true colors, the true colors,
if you want to put it that way. So, and well, while eating, I think that there's some validity in that. You see people's education and if they are polite or not, the way they eat, right? And at the games, you also see that's something that comes out when people are conflicting with each other over some resource. What people say to each other when they are winning or losing, you can really read what people are behind while playing a game.
and it's finding the lines, right? Because it's okay to have banter. It's okay to have like what we were having now. Oh, I'm gonna leave you a bunch of tiles for you to get. I like we're being playful while messing each other up in the game. That's fine. Being playful is fine. Being hurtful is not fine, and being hurt is also not fine. So if I'm just playing with you and saying, oh, I'm gonna steal all your tiles, well, I'm playing, and it's a playful tone, and you have to identify that and not be mad and not be upset because it's just a game. We're just sitting and having. If we're not having fun, we shouldn't be playing the game.
It's just the game.
If it's not fun, we should be doing something else.
And what do you do, Cátia, when one of the kids says, "Hey, I want to play this game"? The other one says, "No, I want to play that game." And
happens all the time.
I don't play your game. You don't play my game. And then 30 minutes passed and no one plays anything. So how do you manage this conflict of
what we do? Yeah, we do. You choose. If you choose that he's playing first, because there's the two layers of choice. Is the one they want to choose the game, but they also want to be first playing for the first player in the game. Okay, you can be the first player, but then he's choosing what game we play, and then they have literal argumentation of like. I think it's almost negotiation, not just argumentation. They were like, okay, then we can play this game if I'm first. Do you agree with that? Okay, you agree with that? Let's go. And then they solve that alone, and it's
that's an easy fix. That's an easy fix. I see that
you put another layer. You have to if one is being upset because they're not doing something, you have to give a sweet to the other one. Like, okay, then you don't get to do that. You do something else.
That's only possible if you haven't introduced Schwazi in your family, because once you do that,
we have. We just don't.
So
we just don't use it.
Mine know that whoever chooses who goes first is Schwazi, so they don't want to be first. Sometimes
it's not a rule, right? That's not a rule.
They want to put the finger there and see if they are selected or not. So,
but they also want to be first. They want to choose the game, so. There's no rule that Schwazi or whatever app you're using is the one that you do. So you can bend that. That one's easy to bend.
And what about another challenge, which is on young age they don't stay quiet or not moving at the table, and they start moving pieces they should not touch, etc. What's your strategy, Cátia?
Well, because you're using smaller, like age appropriate games. The game is fast. The game lasts 20, 15, depending on the game, can be fast. So they don't have to sit through that for a very long time. And so it's easier to manage. And it has happened, well, for the younger one, when we're doing Catan Junior, of course, or Stone Age Junior, that they cannot sit through the whole game. And it has happened that they get bored and they start getting messy. Like, okay, you don't want to play anymore? That's fine. You can go paint or whatever, do something else. Go watch Bluey, which is the usual thing that is happening on the television.
That's a good strategy. Release them from the game.
They don't have to. If there's three of us at the table, me and the two of them, and one of them is destroying the experience for the other two, you can go. It's fine. We'll just stay and just play the two of us. That's fine.
Yeah.
And again, if they're not having fun, why are they there? If they're not having a positive experience, if it's being boring or annoying for them, why are they there? Let them go.
They will just create negative feelings about playing board games that will affect next time you say, hey, let's play something. They will think, oh, it's people screaming at me for me to be quiet, etc. So we don't want that.
And it's fine for them to say no, right? Like the two of them, I have the oldest and the youngest. The oldest likes a lot more the games than the youngest. Probably it's just an age thing at this point, but I don't know. It's fine that one wants to play and the other doesn't. Like they don't have to be doing the same thing together. Like they can just be doing different things. Yes. So if one wants to play and the other one doesn't, it's fine. You can go do Legos. You can do whatever. It's fine. You're not being excluded if you choose not to be doing this with us. It's fine.
Do you have a boy and a girl? Two boys?
Two boys. Two boys.
Okay. One of the content that I noticed from your channel, you were doing something called Games in Feminine. You did it some years ago.
Yeah, for the Women's Day, International Women's Day, that I did that. Yeah.
Okay. But I thought that we could, since you are also a woman, we could also talk a little bit about the perception of this hobby being both gender or more typically for appealing more to men or for boys or for girls. So what's your opinion? Do you think board games typically are seen more for boys, girls, or do you think they appeal nowadays equally to both?
I think they're starting to appeal to both. I don't see a gendered approach to this. Fortunately, I don't think it should be gendered at all. I have heard stories of people, women in particular, going to board game clubs or board game cafes and not having the best experience because the people there are mostly men, and not all men are inviting and welcoming to be around. But that's not a hobby problem. It's a personality problem. You can go play board games with another group if that group is not being welcoming to you. I like that, for example, you don't have gendered competitions. When you do the national tournaments or national championships, there's not a male and female version of the tournament. It would make no sense to have that separation because the only thing you need is usually the ability to see the pieces, hands to touch the pieces, and the brain to think about the game. And both genders have all of those things. I'm assuming that's the truth. So I don't like this notion of it's for one gender or for the other. It's for everyone. Whoever wants to be playing board games, they can be. I don't like this. Yeah.
Okay.
There is a skewness in designers on both. That's why I made that video. That there's clearly more male board gamers than there is female board gamers.
Okay.
And that can have a lot of implications. That's not a hobby specific thing. That is a world specific thing because there's more men in positions of power. Usually men talk better with other men, and maybe when you're doing a pitch for a board game, it's a lot easier for a male designer to sell a game than it is for a female designer. I'm guessing. I don't know.
Okay.
I've seen that happen in other things, so I'm just hazarding a guess here. Yeah, I don't think that this is a problem, and I think that if we have more companies that are led by women, and there are a few of them. There's a few publishing companies that are now female led. I'm assuming that will stop being a problem because the communication factor stops being a factor. And I'm going to be beaten up again on this game. I'm going to get a lot of negative points on this round again.
Thank you for your feedback. Although I could not help but notice that you started your answer saying nowadays. Okay, so I think we can both agree that before nowadays, right? Mm-hmm. Board gaming was stereotyped more as a male thing, right? Do you agree?
I remember my mother. I learned playing cards like Sueca and that kind of stuff. I don't know how to say Sueca in English. I learned playing that with my dad, who learned from his mom and dad. And my grandmother was a fierce player of Sueca.
That's traditional cards, right? Would that apply as well for board games?
Let me finish the thing. But my mom she wasn't proud, but she was always saying, "Oh, my dad never let me learn how to play cards because playing games is a men's thing." So in my parents' age group, that's still viewed like that. That's still viewed like, "Oh, I'm not going to learn because games are not for me. Games are not for women." And that's a very sad way of approaching that because it's not true. It's just not true. It's
So what changed, Cátia? I wanted to get to that point. So for the nowadays, it's different. So what changed in your opinion?
I think it's just women not giving a fuck if it's supposed to be for women or not. If I like doing it, I'm going to do it. And if I have the hands and the brain to do it, I can do it. And I think that I think the jump to solo is not the most obvious one. But if you don't have a group to play, you can definitely be playing games solo. You don't have to have anyone around. If you don't like the environment of a convention or a board game cafe or whatever, you can still do it on your own. You don't need to have people doing it or not. And you have things like what we're doing right now, BGA, where you don't even have to say if you're a woman or not. I think that men are also now more vocal about calling out other men when they are being misogynistic pigs. So if someone is being annoying on a platform like Board Game Arena, you can report that. You can have that have consequences. And before that was not as true. Now there are checks and balances. Now there are things where other people will also put you in check if you like being if I'm playing at the table with you and you're being a dick to me because I'm a woman, I expect not just me, but other people around me to call you out on it and not be like, he's just being funny because this is a funny joke. It's not funny anymore. It stopped being funny 50 years ago. Sorry, I'm getting excited.
Glad that we are separated by screens because...
No, it's not. It's not you directly. It's just like this notion that women have to be quiet and be meek and demure and be seen but not heard is a 50-year-old idea that should be dead by now. And I think that a lot of women and a lot of mothers are teaching their sons and their daughters that they shouldn't be quiet anymore, that if something is wrong, they shouldn't be just laying down flat and letting others roll over them. If I'm a woman and I'm seeing someone else be a dick to another woman, I'm probably going to be speaking up and saying, like, get out of my face. Like, what are you doing here? So there's that.
Okay. And do you think there are types of board games that are enjoyed based on gender, or
No.
do you think it's more about personality?
It's definitely a personality thing. Absolutely. If you like World of Warcraft and there's men and women who like it, you're going to like probably role-playing style of games or campaign style games. If you like worker placement, there's not a gender thing on that. I love worker placement. Some other women may not like worker placement. I don't feel like it needs to be gendered at all. It depends on what you like, and what you like depends on what your personality is, and not so much on your gender, I guess.
Oh, wait.
Like, there's so many. Magic is a great example. I think Magic the Gathering, the card game, it has so many more male players than it does female, but that doesn't mean that female players don't enjoy the game or don't like it. In a lot of cases, and I know that people don't agree with me, but I've had conversations with people that were in that medium. The tournament circuits are not necessarily the most friendly places, maybe for women sometimes, again, because of this imbalance of male versus female. But again, that's a personality problem. That's not a hobby problem. That's the people involved being a bit more toxic. And you don't have to engage with that. Women can go and if they have tough enough skin, they can be there. It's not a gender thing. You can enjoy whatever you want.
So that's the type of games and teams. But what about mechanics? Do you think there are mechanics that would appeal more to men? No, it's the same thing regarding mechanics.
Why would it be different? Why would it be a male? Why would, let's say, worker placement appeal more to men versus female? Why? Why would deck building apply more? If you're talking deck building, the actual deck building with the wood, maybe probably there's more men. But even then, it's not. I'm not sure if that's true. So no, no, thanks.
Okay. So
no,
in
thanks.
your opinion, then, to close this subject, what makes a board game truly for everyone? Is there a specific formula, or any board game could be truly for everyone?
What makes a game for everyone is that that doesn't exist. Because let's say the top game, or one of the top games in Board Game Geek right now, I think is Brass Birmingham. Brass Birmingham is one of the most voted great, amazing games. It's not for everyone, because not everyone will like the heavy game. It's not going to be for everyone. Catan is a simple game, entry-level game. It won't be for everyone again, because people are fed up with Catan, or whatever the reason. So there's no such thing as a game for everyone. There's a game you can learn it, you can play it, you can see it if it matches with what you like. Every game is open for everyone to try. If they like it or not, if they play it or not, that's a second derivative. That is not necessarily something that makes a difference. And I won the last one. Woohoo!
And I lost 8 points. Okay, so this was very close.
This one was very close, yeah.
Okay.
But you having the conversation going and now playing at the same time, because these are more enraging topics, it gets harder to juggle both things. So there's that.
Okay. Would you go for a final one? The one that whoever wins, then the final one wins everything. Katya, would you accept
I can do that.
Challenge?
I have the title already because I won the 2 out of 3, but that's fine. I'm willing to put us on the
because
on the tiebreaker.
Let me propose your rematch, the last rematch, because now I want to take you through the most difficult topic today. I would assume. So, well, you'll get very distracted, and I will take that opportunity to
Of course.
win, right? Which is, well, at least very difficult for me. Physics and data science. Who knew that behind the YouTuber / influencer / board gamer Cátia, who knew you had a PhD in physics?
Correct.
And you work in data science. So what inspired you?
Data science didn't show up in my life until I decided to jump out of the university world. When I started university, my plan was to do research. I wanted to do... I think that a lot of people that go into physics have the same notion of just going into astronomy or cosmology or the universe, which is a very fascinating subject. We love looking up at the night sky. I think as humans, love looking at the night sky and seeing the things that are there to be seen. And then you get to actually doing the course and you're like, okay, maybe this is not exactly what I was looking for. And you start being a bit more pragmatic. And I shifted my focus during my work in the university to be more practical. Like, well, okay, what will I actually think I can make a living out of this? And I went to condensed matter physics and nanoparticles, which basically means materials, working with materials. My master's and my PhD were both in magnetic materials that could be used for MRAM applications, meaning magnetic RAM memories. I wanted to do something focused on something useful. I wanted to feel useful. I wanted to do contributions that were doing something for the world. That was the main approach that I had here. Okay. As I was doing that, I did my master's in Grenoble in France. I did Erasmus there. And my initial goal was to just go and not come back, just stay there and work there because they have a lot more facilities, a lot more funding, a lot more everything. But as luck would have it, I had met my then boyfriend, and I said, okay, I'm going to come back and do my life in Portugal because I have my family there as well. And things pulled me back, and I ended up coming back to Portugal. I did my PhD here. And during the PhD is when you really figure out how the investigation world is now working in the whole world, which is you have to pump out papers. Papers is the driving force of every single thing that is driving financing. And I felt like I was doing papers for the sake of papers. And that was working on the niche of the niche of the niche. Like you were doing materials, but then you're doing MRAMs, but then you're doing this specific type of thin film. Okay. Like I didn't feel that what I wanted to do, which was having some kind of contribution to the world, was actually being accomplished. And so by the time I was done with the practical work of the PhD, I was still doing the paperwork, the thesis part. But I decided, okay, I don't want to be a nomad. A lot of my friends that stayed in research, every couple of years, like 3-4 years, they would have to go to a different country, find a new contract for research. I wanted to lay down roots. I wanted to be a family person. I wanted to have roots is the right word for that. And I just decided, okay, I'm going to jump out and work somewhere else. And at that time, this was 2015. So yeah, I was already a proper adult, but I still didn't know where to go. I didn't know where to work. I didn't know what I should be doing. So I'm like, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where I'm going to be working. Fortunately, I met someone during my master's who had a company. He was a lot older than me, but he was also doing a PhD when I went to him. We had been colleagues during my master's. I just gave him a call and said, like, look, I'm lost. I know you work in the corporate world. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to look for. Can you give me some pointers? Can you give me some directions? And that same afternoon, I got an interview at his company. Like, wow, I'm going to... It was very fast, and on that week, I had an offer to work with them, with a consulting company, and I think it was a very lucky strike for me because it was a consulting company, and a consulting company, if for those that don't know, you don't have a specific thing that you're selling, you don't have a specific product that you're selling projects, you're selling whatever the client needs. And we were working at the time. Data science was not a thing that was used in Portugal at the time. We were doing advanced analytics. That's the term that we were using for banks. I remember spending the first few weeks doing a model for impairment for banks and learning all of the damn documentation of the regulatory documents of what impairment means, which are horrible. If you have never read banking regulatory documents. They are hilarious and horrible at the same time. Hilarious because
Sounds fun.
The regulators force the bank to do something in a way, but they never say you have to do it this way. They say you have to do this, but they don't say how. So as long as you can argue your point, as long as you can argue what you're doing, you can get away with a lot of stuff. Like if it's valid within the scope of what's written there, you just have to be able to argue. So you have to learn what's written, you have to learn what you can do, and you have to be able to argue with the regulators. And I found myself making a model for a bank, a pretty big national bank that I don't want to say the name. We did a model that was saving them, each year was saving them 44 million in capital. Like they can take away from their impairment funds. Impairment, for those who don't know, is when you default, when you don't pay your loan, the bank has to keep money on the side to count for those non-paid loans. So they have to get away from their capital for the money that they have to distribute to their state shareholders. They have to get that money away and put it away as an impairment fund. And we were able to prove mathematically that they were putting too much money away. And how did this come into play? I have a physics background, so I know I have an analytic thought process. I have calculus. I have statistics. I have the tools that I have to make this work. I can explain from a mathematical point how this works. And doing that first project and seeing this bank, because of us, is now having 40 million more euros that they can distribute to their shareholders, feels like an impact, feels like something that has value. And then, of course, I had to learn programming. I had to learn SQL. I had to learn a lot of stuff that I didn't have a great background on. But then we closed this project. We moved to another project, and that it's a new client with a new problem, and you just keep going. And in 2 years, I moved from being an intern. I started as an intern to leading a team. I was leading a 12 people team that was doing full-time work for insurance company in Switzerland. And again, I think that we were talking about being geeks in the beginning. I think that a lot of the geeks, and I self-identify as a geek as well, lack something which is the capacity of communication. And one thing that I did very well that allowed me to grow very fast was this capacity of explaining to a client what we were doing in a way that they could understand. And that's what made me grow so fast. It's like I have the technical and analytical background to be doing stuff, but I can also explain to the laymen, to the people that don't know what we're doing, what this is, and having them on board with us and have them be part of what we are saying.
It's a good skill also for board games, right? To teach people how to play the game, so you can make it simple and divide it in modules, etc. So I was
explain the goal and explain exactly.
I was listening to your story, and that reminds me there is a movie which I don't remember the name, but it's with Jeremy Irons, Kevin Spacey, Demi Moore. It's on the day of the collapse of the financial system in 2008 in the US. And this guy, Jeremy Irons, was the owner of a trust fund or investor company. And one of the people that worked in the company made an analysis and realized that the actives were all toxic, that the company was going to go bankrupt, etc. So he picks up the numbers. He goes to his manager. His manager goes to his manager, which was Kevin Spacey, and then Kevin Spacey goes to Jeremy Irons, that needs to fly in from an helicopter in robes for them to show him that, hey, the company is going to collapse, right? And this guy was like the intern, the intern that did the analysis, and Jeremy Irons was like, who the hell is this guy that is telling me that my company is going to go bankrupt? And he told, oh, I'm a new guy here. I'm a rocket scientist, like a scientist, physics, whatever. And Jeremy Irons is, so who the hell is a rocket scientist to tell me that my financial corporation is going to bankrupt? And he said, numbers are numbers, regardless.
Exactly.
Regardless.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it. That is exactly, because you understand the statistical background, you understand the numbers, you understand how to work with the numbers, and it gives us a baggage on being able to talk with anyone about anything, because it's just data, it's just numbers, it doesn't matter. And then as we moved on, we started actually doing machine learning models and going into the data science proper way, because a lot of it before was statistics. Then we were doing recommendation systems, we were doing prediction of I remember one project we did which was for energy production company. And we had to do, they had a web page where they were trying to sell solar panels, and they have to have a simulation of how much power production they're going to have. And we had to make a model for that. And it's just numbers. We're just doing things with numbers. And it was very fun. I learned a lot during that time. And as time moved on and I went to lead the team that I was telling you about, the 12 people team, it was 5 data scientists, 3 actuarial scientists, which is something I had never heard before. We had 2 software engineers, myself, and the admin person, the sort of the secretary that was handling our logistics to go back and forth to Switzerland and back. I learned so much, and I think that's. I remember saying, "Please give me code. Please give me numbers again, because people are hard." Because what I do now is no longer the proper coding and the proper actually working with the numbers. I'm the person asking the stupid questions and trying to unblock things, because I'm now the manager of the team. I'm managing a team, and it's numbers and code is a lot easier to solve than people.
What do you do exactly in data science nowadays? Anything that you could disclose?
Yeah, right now I'm working at Feedzai. That's open in my LinkedIn. Feedzai is a company that does fraud prevention software for financial institutions, whether it's a bank or a network or whatever. So what we are doing is for each of our clients, we are doing the activation of our products. We have a product, unlike a consulting company where you do whatever shows up. Here we have a specific product that we are selling. And for each of our clients, we then go over the historical data they have and build bespoke models, machine learning models that go through the patterns of their clients and see, is this transaction, when you go to, let's say you are in a Lidl or whatever supermarket and you're using your card and it declines, well, if someone stole your card and is using your card in China, a copy of your card, well, the card's going to get blocked because we are having rules and things behind the scenes protecting you from getting your money stolen. And that's what we're doing. We're doing just both layers. One layer of rules. What I just told you is a rule. If the card was used here and was used 10,000 miles away,
buy one, red flag,
exactly,
canceled.
red flag,
Someone
blocked.
calls
but
you.
Then there's things that are not obvious. There are things that these obvious patterns are not going to be caught, and so the model is doing that. The models are statistical machines, complex machines that look at the historical data and say, okay, this behavior is anomalous. I'm going to give it a score between 1 and 100 of how confident I am. This is a fraud. And then you fine tune on that. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing that with a team. We have 5 people on the team right now, and we are taking care of 20 projects, 20 clients, which is crazy.
Really? Wow. But they're all the same product being implemented, or
they're all mostly the same product. What changes sometimes is the engagement model for those products, and sometimes we have clients that pay more for higher engagement with us, like we are more involved on their risk strategy. And for other clients, they are paying less, so we have more out of the box things to offer to them. But yeah, that's it. That's what we do. It's fun. Going back to why I jumped out of the university, I feel that what we do has value. We protect millions of euros every day from people all over the world. And I feel that what we do, even though no one sees us, it has a lot of value. And I'm very proud of the team and what we do.
Thank you for that. How do you structure a data science team for success? Is it different from any other team?
One thing that is very different in data science compared to, let's say, software development is that you cannot do waterfall properly. You have waterfall, you have agile. Both of those frameworks for management don't work very well with data science because the deliverable is iterative. So we have, let's say we're doing a model, and I can go over the cycle of the model. I don't want to do that, but you start with data quality, you start with building features, building what describes your data, and then going over to trying a different algorithm, trying parameters for an algorithm, and you go back and you do this cycle a couple of times. So I cannot say I will do stage A, stage B, stage C, and then be done, because I'm going to go to stage C and then come back to B again and do something again. So what we have to come up with is strategies of communication so that the clients are in the loop. What I mean with that is that, okay, I'm in this stage and the output of it is this, and this is what we're going to do as next steps. So you have to create deliverables, what you would have at the end of a waterfall stage, but you have documents or deliverables that are iterative. So you have to be on top of what you are delivering, in keeping in mind that you are not you are not delivering something that is closed. You are delivering something that will be worked on and being improved upon over time.
And just looking here at the timing, so we are probably one more round, right? Because next round we will trigger
One more
the
round,
ending.
probably.
Let me just see if I can fit this somewhere here at least. Okay. We're getting close to the end, Katya. Getting close to the ultimate end. So while we see the scores there,
That sounds ominous.
what do you think is the future of data science?
Ooh.
With all this AI out there?
Yeah. It's very scary.
Scary?
There's a difference, but yeah, it is very scary. Especially in fraud. I did a talk a couple of years ago where I was showing the potential of AI for fraud, and you can have, let's say, someone like me or like you who's doing video content for YouTube, or for, meaning our voice and our appearance are available, easily available everywhere. That, like, you can get my voice from YouTube and just do something about, and you can build a model that will get my voice, and then, because there's ways of getting your information, I'm sure you keep getting spam calls of stuff that is like not actual people trying to sell you stuff. If someone has the number of, let's say, my dad, and they will use my voice and call him and say, I'm in trouble, I need you to pass me money immediately. Money. And when you have a text like that, when you have a text that says that, you can more easily stop and think about what the hell is happening than when you have someone on the phone with you going, I need help now, and it's your daughter's voice. It's someone that you recognize. Okay. And that's very scary. I feel that a lot of people will have problems with that, with stopping and thinking about, is this something that I should actually be saying yes to? Is this something that is actually real? Because they put the urgency on you to respond immediately. And I don't know exactly how this could be regulated, but I do feel that regulation needs to happen sooner rather than later. I think that a lot of companies are taking a lot of advantages with our data, and it's just being easily and freely passed around. And I think that's dangerous. And also, I think there's an over-reliance on AI. I know that a lot of people just go to ChatGPT for everything. It's become their new search engine.
The new god, right?
Yeah, the new source of information for literally anything. And that's not a great idea. That's really not a great idea, because I've seen ChatGPT, like, I tried something once which was very funny, like something that I know the answer to. I went to ChatGPT and said, can you tell me as of now what's the top board game on Board Game Geek? And I know the answer to this. It's very obviously very easy for me to get. And he gave me a wrong answer. He gave me an outdated answer. I called it out on it, and it's just like, oh, I'm sorry, it's this game. And it will give me another game. It is not capable of being called out and retracting and just saying, I don't know. It will keep giving you answers of bullshit that it's coming up with that sometimes seems very logical and seems very correct. But if you don't know the answer, you're going to be fooled. And you have to be careful. You have to be looking at it and not be fooled.
And judge critically every output.
Which a lot of people don't know how to do.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the tips here. I never realized that because I'm putting out content with face, voice, etc., that could be used one day to fraud my family. So I'm gonna have a conversation with some close relatives and to explain that may happen thanks to your advice. And probably this, for every content creator out there listening to this, also is a good advice for them to do it.
Even careful with things like voice memos on WhatsApp, for example. You don't have to be on YouTube for that to be a problem. If WhatsApp is cracked, and I think that the owner of WhatsApp is not necessarily the most trustworthy people in the world, careful with that, because if your voice memos that you send, your voice messages that you send are act, they have your voice anyway. You don't need to have your face on YouTube for that to be a problem.
Wow. Okay. So, final play, Katya. I see there are 15 points of difference, so I'm almost guessing. I'm doing my prediction model here based on
You're doing your algorithm.
The previous round.
I think I won this one. I think I have this one.
It's me. Okay, so I was
distracted. I think I have this one.
And let's go.
Are you confident?
You have all the blues, so just because of
I have
all
all
the
the blues.
there, you will have those extra 10 points, which will be a beating.
And I have another line, another column, which is 7 points.
Yeah.
Come on, it was the final one, right? Yeah.
It was the final ultimate one, so you more than deserve the title of winner of today.
Oh,
For
a lot of points.
Wow, you crossed the 100s. Wow.
That was
So
a lot of
you
points.
are like your own models. You are learning as we go. You're improving, and now on the fourth attempt, you cross the 100 points mark. So
Yeah.
congratulations for that, Cátia.
Thank you.
More than deserved, more than fair. The last question that I have for you, Cátia, before we go. So I usually ask everyone in this show if they can give me a name of a person that could be an interesting guest for a next episode.
Okay.
Who do you think we should invite?
I think you should invite my co-host of the live streams, João Jota. He is a very interesting guy to talk to.
Challenge accepted, Cátia. Thank you for accepting the challenge today. I enjoyed our conversation.
No problem.
Didn't enjoy much the beating, but as we said, it's the game and it's for fun, for having fun.
Of
And
course.
I definitely had fun today.
Awesome. Happy to hear that.
See you. Goodbye.
Till next time.